Ever find yourself in a situation so bizarre that it seems like someone else should be experiencing it? I was blowing out the candles on my 39th birthday cake when that happened. My last illusion about my existence was broken when my phone rang with a message after I had just made a quiet wish that I no longer believed in. Nathan sent it. His name appeared on my screen before the candles had even ceased to burn. My stomach dropped. I already knew something. Hey, Chrissy, I just wanted to tell you straight. I found a better one, younger, warmer, to be honest, an improvement. Our money were moved to my personal account. I was the one making the majority of it anyhow, so it felt fair. No animosity. Have a great birthday. I didn't wince, didn't scream. Don't cry, no trembling hands. I simply sat more erect. My grin became razor sharp. Other than the fact that my chuckle sounded a little louder, nobody at the table took notice. More hollow than before. I retyped a single word. Well done. Not a period. No emoticons. That's all. Chilly, tidy. Because I had been observing Nathan for months. Something he was unaware of and never cared to take into account in all his conceited, bloated hubris. Silently, with patience. It would be similar to someone recording the precise moment the dam starts to break. He believed he was the brains behind it. However, I already had the pattern for all of his falsehoods. Nathan had never been modest. The package included it. When he spoke, people leaned in and servers initially offered to pay for your dessert because of his confidence. However, that charm eventually hardened into something less appealing. It was strange for a man whose profession didn't even need overtime that he began to remain late at work. He constantly had his phone facing down. He rolled his eyes at discussions about our future, as if I were foolish for ever thinking we had one. Afterward, there was the cash. Little things at first, like late Venmo payments, sporadic cash flow problems, and an unexpected intolerance to splitting supper. Then, last month, he casually proposed that we transfer our joint savings to an account in his name. That was the big one. With that dismissive wave, he had stated, "It's just easier that way. Baby, I'm better with money. I will ensure that we are prepared." I gave a nod, grinned. Let him even believe that he had persuaded me. I went immediately to my bank and opened a new account after that. The shared savings were not depleted by me. That would have given him away. Week by week, I simply transferred tiny, hardly perceptible sums my share into that small, silent account that bore only my name. Just enough was left over to maintain appearances, similar to a woman preparing a trap while wearing high heels and flawless mascara. The man I lived with, the man I considered marrying, was publicly announcing that I was the downgrade, and here I was, back at that birthday dinner, pretending to drink champagne, that I was outdated. Throw away. My phone buzzed once more an hour later. This time, a friend, Chrissy. I'm not even sure how to phrase this. Nathan recently made a big Instagram debut with his new girlfriend. The glow-up is real, according to the caption. Get rid of the old and bring in the new. For you, I'm furious. I clicked on the link. He was there with Melissa, posing in a hotel suite. Once, Melissa accidentally FaceTimed him at midnight. That was the same Melissa. He swore that Melissa was immature and obnoxious, hardly a friend, he had remarked. As it turned out, Melissa was 22 years old, had legs for days, and had a face that made strangers stop and think about TikTok. Like a trophy, she clung to him. The remarks were harsh. My guy went from economy to first class, damn it. All right, King. May the ex rest in peace. She must be in tears. How foolish they were. Oh, I wasn't in tears. I was doing some math. The problem with individuals like Nathan is that they constantly believe they have outperformed you. They think you'll fall apart. Ask for clarification. Give up your honor. They fail to remember who created the life they are so anxious to destroy, whose name appears on the lease for the apartment, whose credit card paid for their flights, dinners, and, yes, that same hotel suite where he was now feigning influence. Without recognizing it, Nathan had initiated a game that I had already rigged. Not only did he end our relationship when he sent me that breakup message, but he also gave me all the tools I needed to destroy his new ideal existence. Silently, lawfully, delectably. Later in the evening, the first domino fell. I informed my buddies that I had a headache and left early, which wasn't false. What did I do as soon as I returned? The locks were changed. The lease had never included Nathan's name. Because I was better at such stuff, he always let me handle the boring paperwork. I detest filling out forms, darling. It's you who is well organized. Correct. And now he was going to pay a lot more for his indolence than a few lost emails. When I requested that the locks be changed, the landlord didn't even bat an eye. Chrissy, you are the only person on the list. You are free to do as you like. Nathan had nowhere to go home to by midnight. My phone came back to life at 1:03 a.m. Hey, incredibly strange, but I believe my key is broken. Please allow me in. I left it alone. Go ahead and read, unanswered. After 15 minutes, Christy? What's happening? I must get some of my belongings. Nothing has changed, because Nathan's stuff was already in garbage bags, including the expensive watches he never cared about, the clothes, and the footwear. Outside the apartment door, sitting properly, he would be locked out when he returned home seeking comfort. Like a stranger on the curb, he stared at his belongings. Additionally, this was only the start. My apartment was quiet once more by dawn. I sat on the couch, barefoot, my hair still in curls from the birthday supper, drinking black coffee like it was wine, while Nathan's trash-bagged designer life sat in the hallway. Be calm, concentrated, not depressed, not upset, simply be awake. When you stop acting as though someone loves you, it's amazing how quickly reality can change. I made the first of many calls that would blow a fuse under Nathan's well-planned existence at 8:03 a.m. I called the woman on the other end of the line and said, "Hello, I have a joint bank account that needs to be reported for fraudulent activity." She was courteous and a little bored, perhaps thinking this was just another typical error. "Ma'am, what sort of activity?" Even though she couldn't see it, I took a breath and grinned. Money was moved without my consent. Additionally, I have documentation proving my ex-boyfriend took them. I want to send your fraud department screenshots. A pause occurred. Then she spoke in a slightly different tone. Yes, ma'am. Kindly send the paperwork to this address. The account Nathan believed to be his golden parachute suddenly vanished, frozen. He was unable to get a single cent by 9:30. He texted just in time, so I didn't have to guess when he found out. What in hell did you do, Chrissy? I have a frozen account. I am unable to make any money. Make this right. I took a drink of my coffee. As a reward, let the steam touch my face. Then answered, strange. Perhaps give your bank a call? I could clearly picture the call. Nathan, still smelling like too much perfume and pacing a hotel suite in his trousers from yesterday, listening to a bank representative explain that his account had been flagged for fraudulent behavior, that until they finished their investigation, he wouldn't be able to access any of it. Perhaps flaunting stolen money on Instagram wasn't the best course of action. I placed my second call of the day at 10:12 a.m., I said. Hello, once more, to the credit card company. I have to contest a transaction. It was not permitted. I had previously retrieved the rental vehicle confirmation that Nathan had made for his glow-up getaway with Melissa. Weeks prior, I had noticed the email open on our shared iPad, and I instantly recognized the card number. My card. He had not even bothered to remove it from the payment methods that were saved. The rental was terminated 10 minutes later. Consequently, Nathan and Melissa were carless. No money. All of a sudden, they are unable to access their new, bright, ideal life. He was the next to call. The first four I disregarded. I picked up the phone on the sixth. He yelled, Chrissy, you have to fix this! What is wrong with you? My bank is frozen, my car is canceled, and my belongings are in the fucking hallway. Using a spoon, I stirred my coffee. I whispered, Oh, Nathan, I haven't even begun. He made an effort to maintain control over his voice, but I could hear the fissures. He was falling apart. I was also only warming up. For the week, Nathan had reserved a 5-star hotel suite. Glimpse of the ocean, own balcony, everything. Since I paid for that accommodation, or at least used my pilfered savings to do so, I knew. Unfortunately, when your account is frozen for fraud, any outstanding charges do not disappear. Nathan arrived for check-in with Melissa at precisely 3:06 p.m. They wore champagne-appropriate attire. They received corporate indifference instead. I apologize, sir. Your card was denied. Your reservation has to be released. How do I know that too? Because I received a call from an unidentified number 32 minutes later. I knew immediately who it was when I picked it up. Hey? Quiet. Then I heard a voice I knew but had never addressed directly. Melissa. She spoke in a tight voice, as if she were attempting to grin while being robbed. Chrissy. Hey, look, I'm aware that things are strange at the moment, but I simply wanted to. I interrupted. How's that upgrade treating you, Melissa? Dead quiet. Then all I need to know is whether we can do anything to resolve this. Nathan said that his account was frozen. In fact, I laughed, couldn't resist. Did Nathan say that? Oh. Did he also tell me about his theft? Or how, like a coward, he texted me off on my birthday? I had no idea, she began. You didn't inquire, I remarked. That was the reality. She desired a man who took her to rooftop bars and looked fine in a suit. She didn't inquire about the source of the funds or the reason behind his constant evasiveness regarding his history. Until the elevator broke down midway up her imaginary skyscraper, she didn't give a damn. Things were getting out of control by the evening. Not for me, but for him. Because a man like Nathan doesn't simply tumble and fall. Like a goddamn demolition site, he crashes. Did he proudly use his Instagram post to begin his glow-up? In a heat wave, it matured like milk. Comments began to pour in. My guy, you flaxed too early. Consider leaving your girlfriend only to become impoverished within a day. Karma sent a same-day delivery, bro. The last domino came next. My phone buzzed again at 4:45 p.m. NATHAN. I picked up this time. His voice was what I wanted to hear. His voice was low and clipped, like a man attempting to appear composed while drowning, when he stated, You need to stop this. What should I stop? I asked in a kind manner. He let out a breath via his nostrils. I got a call from my boss today. Oh? I pretended to be perplexed as I spoke. What made him do that? Apparently, someone at work saw my post, he added venomously. HR is now on board. I blinked and grinned. As you can see, Nathan's employer had a rigorous policy against dating subordinates. Melissa was a member of his team, not just any girl. Junior employees. This turned his brief public statement into a business time bomb. You had a relationship with someone at work? Mock shocked, I said. Nathan, it's very different from you. So impetuous. Thus, short-sighted. He lowered his voice to a growl. Do you find this amusing? I sipped my now cold coffee and replied, No, it seems poetic to me. He failed to understand. He still believed he was fighting, that he had just made a poor move in our chess game. He failed to see that he had never been in charge in the first place. His life had not been damaged by me. I simply removed my hands from the steering wheel and allowed him to crash into the wall. I held the door open when he sent the police to my door. Like all the others, the following morning began with coffee, slippers, and silence. However, something felt off. I didn't feel anxious or scared of him, just that quiet hum of suspense that fills in the final details of a lousy plot. It occurred at 9:00 a.m. Someone knocked on my door. Not an SMS message, not a voicemail, an actual knock. I caught a glimpse of it via the peephole. Blue outfit, badge, notepad in hand, calm, barefoot, and carrying a mug that said Boss Babe, a present from a friend who once described me as scary good at revenge. I opened the door. Chrissy Walker? The officer inquired. I am that. We were notified of a property theft. Nathan Carter, your ex-boyfriend, says you're illegally keeping things that are his. I arched an eyebrow. I nearly laughed. What did he say? The officer went on to read from his notes, namely, a laptop, various suits, a couple fancy watches. I moved to the side, pointing to the corridor where the trash bags were still there like dutiful infantrymen. It's all right there, unaltered. Since I expelled him, he has not moved. He is free to come get it, if he is able to confront me. The officer looked from me to the hallway and back again. He obviously already knew. You haven't prevented him from getting to his belongings? No. I simply prevented him from entering my apartment, as well as my life. Is that now illegal? He smiled just a little. No, ma'am. It seems like a civil case. This complaint will be closed. That was the end of it. In a tantrum, Nathan had attempted to use the cops as a weapon. He also lost. Get one. After 2 hours, my phone buzzed once more. Melissa. I gave it a single ring. Twice. Then responded. I wanted to know. How long before the illusion broke was the question I wanted to ask. Chrissy, she added in a strained voice. I must know the truth. How about? As I sipped my coffee, I said. She wasted no time. How much did you plan for this? I blinked, then grinned. Make a plan? Don't act foolish, she yelled. Nathan is broke. His employment is at stake. His accounts have been blocked. He's like a washed-up frat sleeping on my couch. This is you. It's not bad luck. Leaning back, I allowed the silence to linger. I asked, Melissa, did Nathan ever explain to you why we shared an account? She paused. Did he say who was listed on the lease? Or who covered his meager expenses? The garments? The meals? The hotel where you were expelled? She fell silent. He claimed that you were domineering, because you wouldn't permit him to be self-sufficient financially. In fact, I laughed, couldn't resist. He did, of course. When they get caught, individuals like Nathan always say that. To make themselves the victim, they fabricate the story. Let's face it, though, he had no desire for independence. He desired luxury without responsibility. Quiet. Then, God, I was such an idiot. Hardly audible above a whisper. I refrained from arguing. Because she was, sort of. But really, I didn't despise her. Not at all. She was just another female who was duped by the salesman. Nathan always presented himself as a visionary. In actuality, though, he was merely a skilled storyteller using a credit card that he did not possess. 3 days later, the last nail was added. He was formally sacked by his employer. Although dating a subordinate was a big enough scandal, it wasn't the only thing at stake. The expense reports were at issue. The falsehoods, the conceit. As it seems, Nathan had been paying himself for client dinners that never took place, submitting hotel bills that weren't associated with any actual meetings. I hadn't even found those yet. His own human resources department did. He had not simply deceived me. He portrayed himself. The house of cards also fell quickly. No work, no girlfriend, no cash, no home of his own. Only the weight of 100 little lies that tipped over at last. What's the best part? I didn't do anything. Not at all. I simply drew back the drapes to let in the natural light. He called a week later. For the final time, I answered after gazing at his name on the screen. I was interested in hearing it. Had to. Chrissy, he remarked in a hollow voice. I had never heard the word empty before. He began, you, and then rambled. I waited. At last, he muttered, I don't understand. You didn't yell. You didn't engage in combat. You made no attempt to retaliate against me. You simply let everything fall apart. I inhaled deeply, then gave the response I had always desired. I didn't have to fight you, Nathan. The wrecking ball was you. I simply moved out of the path. The line was thick with stillness for a long time. It was palpable in my chest. Then I made a mistake. I grinned. Not mean. Not even irate. Just be clear. Indeed. You did. I then hung up. No grandiose farewell, no second chances, a single click, a complete halt, and I felt clean for the first time in years. I finally realized the harm he would never do when his mother texted me. A few weeks had passed since Nathan's last call. As soon as I hung up, I blocked his number. Voicemails have been deleted, restored my mornings. I'm at peace. Tension and someone else's cologne were replaced with the scent of fresh coffee and eucalyptus in my apartment. I had moved on. He hadn't. However, that was no longer an issue for me. But what happened next caught me off guard. Not from Nathan, from his mom, Linda. While I was waiting in line at the farmer's market, her name appeared on my phone. Only 3 words. Chrissy. Can we have a conversation? I looked at it for a long time. To be honest, I wasn't even sure if I should open it. Because I had a job, this woman had formerly viewed me as unsuitable for a marriage. Because she lavished more attention on her man-child son than I did. Still, curiosity prevailed. I typed back, "It depends. Are you going to accuse me of causing your son's life to collapse?" She answered almost immediately, "No. I really must know the truth. He won't give me any information. And all I hear are other people's fragments of the story." That message remained in your mind for some reason. It sounded nothing like a defense. It sounded like capitulation. I thus consented to meet her. Neutral territory. Coffee shop. It's midday. I wanted to know how deeply Nathan's delusion had broken. Not because I was interested in what Linda thought of me. I nearly didn't recognize her when I entered. She appeared worn out. Not merely bodily, as in exhausted. When you finally realize that the golden boy you raised isn't a king, you get that kind of fatigued. Only a man. Not a good one at that, she murmured, stirring her tea as if it had insulted her. "Thank you for meeting me," I simply. "I must comprehend how all of this occurred." I gave a shrug. He played his hand too much. Believed that he could not be touched. I didn't think I would notice. Or defend yourself. Guilty. She cast a downward glance. He claimed that you were domineering. That you attempted to destroy him. That really made me giggle. Tell me, Linda. For Nathan, what does controlling mean? I believe it suggests that he didn't let me mooch off her in silence. She grimaced. Then she said something that caught me off guard. He was spoiled by us. It wasn't an excuse from her. It sounded like a confession from her. Every time he made a mistake, we helped him out. I thought we were helping, as did his dad. However, I see now. We just told him that he might choose to face consequences. Slowly, I nodded. Indeed. That fits. She sipped her tea. She had trembling hands. Chrissy, does he have a method to return? I gave her a direct look. Not mean, not resentful. Just be truthful. Not until he understands that he is the issue. And I could tell she already understood that by the way her face slightly crumpled. After then, I didn't hear anything about Nathan. Just little things, whispers. He had returned to live with his parents. This time, it seems, they had placed restrictions on him. No freebies, no careless spending, and no more pretending to be a tech startup founder on Instagram while living rent-free in someone else's home. Melissa? A week after our last call, I dumped him. After the spa weekends and champagne stopped coming, I suppose being the upgrade wasn't as much fun. It turns out that people quickly lose interest in you when your entire demeanor is man, who knows a guy and you no longer genuinely know anyone. In the meantime, I was doing well. At work, one received a promotion. I started a side business that really took off. It turns out that your savings account is relieved when you get rid of a financial parasite. I took a trip. In Rome, I had gelato, climbed Oregon cliffs. I laughed once more. I laughed so hard. And when they questioned me about why I wasn't going faster, I didn't feel like I was bearing someone else's burden for the first time in years. I was living for myself. A year went by. I can't remember the tone of his voice. I didn't question his well-being. Until someone mentioned him, I didn't even pronounce his name aloud. Even then, I referred to him as my ex. He was reduced to background noise, an echo in the distance from a life I no longer led. I received a message request late one night. I nearly disregarded it. However, the name caused me to pause for some reason. Nathan. The message read, "Hey, I am aware that a lot of time has passed. I only wanted to apologize. I made a mistake. I ought to have been nicer to you. I just wanted to let you know that I had no expectations." I looked at it for a while, not due to temptation. However, because it was at last, evident. That man had believed that the best way to gain power was to leave me. But I was free as soon as he left. He was still struggling to comprehend how it all came to an end, and sifting through the debris of his own collapse. And me? I had already constructed a new item. He believed that I would regret losing him, but I just forgot about him. A year and some change had passed. Don't text. No phone calls. There are no rumors worth mentioning. Slowly, then suddenly, Nathan vanished as weak things do. I was no longer cringing at his name. Ceased to dream of retaliation. That phase of my life was over. Buried beneath travel tickets, late-night giggles, and lengthy walks by myself, during which I at last discovered how to be by myself without feeling insignificant. Not only had I restored my work and bank account, but I had also restored the aspects of myself that I was unaware he had damaged. And my anger had subsided. I had freedom. I therefore nearly skipped the invitation to a mutual friend's wedding. Nearly. A part of me said, "Go. Simply leave. You no longer even believe you need the closure." So I did. I saw him as soon as I entered the arena. He was sitting in a rumpled shirt that had likely once been costly, nursing a cheap drink in the corner. His hair was disheveled, as if he had given up acting long ago. He didn't resemble the man who abandoned me. He appeared to be the result of all of his self-centered choices. We looked at each other, and I felt nothing for the first time since everything. No pain. Not a spark. Not even rage. When you gaze at something that used to signify everything, and now hardly registers, you get that peaceful comprehension. I looked back to my companion. A decent dude. Steady. Nice. Sure, successful, but more than that, in the moment. A man who didn't perceive my strength as a threat or confuse control with love. We chuckled over the appetizers. I also allowed Nathan to observe. I wanted myself to see what I had gained, not because I needed him to see what he had lost. Later that evening, he came over. He did, of course. When the dust settles and you're standing tall while they're still covered in rubble, they always do. He cleared his throat before saying, "Chrissy." "Hi." Slowly, I turned. Courteous. Far away. Not rude, just finished. "Nathan, you look good." I grinned. "I understand." Like a child anticipating an undeserved punishment. He nodded while tucking his hands into his pockets and swaying slightly on his heels. "I assume you've heard it all, regarding my work." "Melissa?" "Everything." I gave a nod. "Yes." He gave a half laugh, broken and resentful. "I assume you're pleased with the way things worked out." I cocked my head. I gave it some thought. Then the truth was spoken. "No, Nathan. I don't give you enough thought to make me feel anything." He blinked. "Hard. I only apologize. For everything. I wish I could go back and change it." I sipped my beverage. Allow the quiet to persist. Then stated, "You still don't understand." He appeared perplexed. Perhaps hurt. I smiled, but it was almost sad, not mean. It's similar to seeing someone still looking in the wreckage of a house they set on fire. "You don't have to apologize to me." "I didn't, because you gave me my life back the moment you departed." I pointed to the room, the future, and the happiness that was now mine. "And now," I said, "I have everything I ever wanted." Additionally, I let my gaze wander over his attire. His presence diminished. "You deserve everything that you have." He tightened his jaw. He didn't argue, though, because he knew for the first time. I turned and left without turning around. Men like Nathan have the trait of never anticipating the conclusion. They do this because they believe the woman they discarded will never be able to stand higher without them, not because it's abrupt. However, I did. I did more than simply get by with him. He was outgrown by me. I now carry my tale with me like armor in every room I enter. Not a cut, just a friendly reminder. Love doesn't require sacrifice. That independence isn't self-serving. Sometimes the loudest form of power is silence. At one point, he believed that leaving me would be the best choice he would ever make. However, in practice, I owned it because I gave up on attempting to mend damaged individuals. I stopped giving the unappreciative grace, and I began making my own decisions, completely and unrepentantly. So, no, I didn't receive retribution. I didn't require it. Peace came to me. And that? The actual glow up was that.